So I'm going to move straight into introducing Kylie Aekins as our first speaker. So Kylie is based in New South Wales, Australia, and she's a peer facilitator at Plumtree, a mum to two amazing neurodiverse kids, and passionate about family-centred service. She will share her experiences at the Family Leadership Match as part of the Utrecht Leadership Exchange last year. Welcome, Kylie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. So I just wanted to share who I am first quickly. I am a trained parent peer worker. So I'm a mum, as Ling said, and I work for Plumtree Children's Services in Sydney, Marrickville. So Plumtree is an organisation with over 35 years experience in early childhood intervention, and it is focused on family-centred practice and employs family leaders. So it trains and employs the family. So when I came into this, currently had finished a 36-month Parents as Peer Leaders project, which was funded under the Information and Linkages and Capacity Building grant from the government. And over this time, I got to connect in with families in Australia. I spoke to 1,008 families without NDIS funding and a few more hundred that did have NDIS funding. So NDIS funding is National Disability Insurance funding through the Australian government. And when I talked to these families, I got to talk to them in the most busiest and most vulnerable times of their lives. And it was amazing just that parent-to-parent connection that I had straight away with them, and just how much they wanted to engage straight away and talk to another parent who had that lived experience. And through this project, we were able to go on and train 112 of them to become family leaders. And then 45 of them have become Now and Next facilitators, which is what the program was based on, the Now and Next program, which is a strengths-based program. Also, over a third of them were from culturally and linguistically diverse families, and over a quarter of them were fathers. And one of the most amazing things that we got to see was just the way that they built on their capacity, how their agency grew over that time. And they didn't actually even realise that they needed inclusion and what inclusion meant to them. And it was wonderful to see those light bulb moments in families where they realised that they could have a good life, a valued life, a life in the community. Right. And, they got to understand that social model around their children and why it was so important for them to advocate. So this was the work that I had been doing when we heard about the Global Leadership Exchange. And I think it was really important that we wanted to get the message around families and family leadership to be a part of the exchange. And that's why we came into the Global Leadership Exchange. And Silvana Marmik, who's the CEO of Plumtree Children's Services, asked me if I would like to attend. And of course, I took up that opportunity very, very quickly. So then what happened was that I hadn't travelled for 17 years. So I left my family and I travelled all the way across to Ireland. We were hosted by the Inclusive Living Network, which is at the Centre of Disability Law and Policy Institute of Life Course and Society at the University of Galway in Ireland. And I can just say what a stunning and beautiful place to actually host a match. I felt very honoured to be there. And from the moment that I met the team of Maria Walls and all of the parents and peers and self-advocates that she had with her, I was humbled and inspired from the very moment I met them. We got to meet as a collective with representatives from all other countries, and together we had an opening and a closing ceremony which had a really deep spiritual element which connected us to the land and to the rich history of the people, which absolutely was moving from the very beginning. And then together we discussed the differing views and approaches from all of our countries. We talked about the key values of disability in the community, and we talked about how when people with disability are included, they get known to their communities, and over this time, this sense of belonging to their community is what really keeps all of us safe. We then discussed the foundations for individualised supports and how they may look in different countries. And then when it is truly personalised, that this can actually transform the lives for everyone's life for the better and create a good life and a valued life with purpose. We heard from differing leaders in governments and how they would support their personal budgets for people with disability in their countries. And, you know, gave an example with Andrew Whitecross talking about the NDIS in Australia. And then we went on to discuss supporting leadership in personhood under the frame of the UN CRPD and how it's essential for the legal rights of all in that supported decision making. And we talked about removing some of those barriers and how important the voices of people with disabilities were. We got to hear from people with disabilities such as Paul Alford and Christina Burke and Ursula Reagan talking about her son Ryan. And what we heard was a real call to action. It was a really deep call to action and really hopeful. So I left feeling inspired, and that continued through into the Netherlands. So from my experience, I have been forever changed. The stories and the experiences shared really fueled and refreshed and renewed my passion for supporting and encouraging families, creating family leadership, you know, advocating for our children, because ultimately we want to amplify the voice of our children so they can become self-advocates. So since returning to Australia, we have continued our parent-led programs and our family-centred approach under a strengths-based approach. We have facilitated more family leaders. We're currently delivering now in next groups in Australia at Plumtree Children's Services, but all throughout Australia, both to rural and remote areas. And we have sponsored those that don't have NDIS funding. So Plumtree continues to sponsor. We have other wonderful programs that we offer, but one of the ones I'm really proud of that we're about to commence now is the Now and Next School, which is for supporting families with school-aged children to amplify their voice and develop effective learning goals, individualised learning plans, and collaborate with the educators to really share and amplify the child and student voice. And so the message that I really got from the exchange is that there's a lot we're doing well, and there's a lot more that we can be doing collectively together, and that we really want to amplify the voice and listen to the stories, because listening to the stories and the lived experiences of the families and the people with disability really creates those positive pathways and gives so much hope to all of us. So it really was an incredible experience, one that I will treasure forever.
Thank you so much, Kylie. Really appreciate you sharing your experience.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for listening, everyone.